wow, after 5 or is it 6 months of creating my YouTube channel, I'm finally starting an English section. So all my non-Chinese speaking friends say yay! So the reason why I'm starting something new is because I want to reach more audiences, reach more of my friends out there who can't really understand my Chinese videos, and also because I really need to practice my English. So here we are! You might or might not know that I've been studying in Taiwan for the past 2 years and I don't really converse in English on a daily basis. This is a great platform for me to practice, so yay! If you guys are studying overseas or have studied overseas, you should know that adapting is a big part of the process. Today I'm going to be sharing with you all some of the things that I took some time adapting to while studying overseas. So let's jump right in. Number 1, the driver's seat is on the left side, whereas in Malaysia it's on the right side. I remember there was this one time, right? Me and a couple of friends, we went to Taiwan, we went to a night market. We were planning to take the cab back to the train station to return back to Hsinchu because I was still studying in Hsinchu back then. When the cab arrived, it stopped by the roadside and there are still cars passing by. So we had to sort of hurry and get in the car like really fast. Subconsciously, I went to open the front left door, which is the driver's door. And that moment, right, when I opened the door, the driver was like shook. And I was like, oh, sorry. There are still times, right, when my friends drive, I would still get on the wrong side. I think the reason why I'm still not used to it is because most of the people here, at least for college students, they motorbike or motorcycle instead of driving a car. Because like for motorcycles and motorbikes, you don't have to worry which side you get on. Which brings me to my next point. Point number 2, people here bike or cycle more than they drive. In Malaysia, the more common mode of transportation is driving a car, but that's not really the case here. When people here say they have a che is like car in Chinese, they most likely mean they have a che, which is a motorcycle or a motorbike. Back in year 1, we had this class gathering and then the class was arranging transport, who has a car, right? In this case, like, 谁有车, asking around. In my mind, I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting everyone to have like a car, like everyone drives, because back in Malaysia, if they don't drive, they usually take a cab. We have Grab and all that, and it's quite cheap back in Malaysia because I take the cab quite often. It's not really that expensive unless you go somewhere really far. So like on that day, when my friend picked me up, then I realized, oh, when you say you have a che, you mean that you have a motorcycle. You know, like in my mind, I'm still used to the idea of people driving everywhere. This next one has to do with traffic as well, which is road crossing. In Malaysia, right, when we cross the road at a zebra crossing, when it's a green light, that whole zebra crossing is for us pedestrians. Here, right, even if it's green light for pedestrians, transports at certain lanes, they can actually still drive through. There was this one time, I think I was still pretty new to the place. I think it was my first week here or second week. I was crossing the zebra crossing. I was sort of on my phone, but not entirely focused on it, but not a great example. I was still like crossing the road and I noticed like there was this car wanting to drive through. Then I was like shook. Did I see it wrong? Is it actually not a green light for me? Then I double checked, yeah, it is green light. Then I was like, okay, maybe the driver got it wrong because these mistakes do happen. And eventually, like, me and a couple of Malaysian friends realized, oh yeah, like the cars can still pass through, like you noticed that too? Yeah. And I did double check with other friends. For them, even if it's green light for pedestrians, cars can still pass through. Okay, the next few has to do with language. The main language or dialect used in Taiwan is Chinese or Taiwanese, aka Hokkien. So naturally, right, language is something that I need to adapt to. But being a Malaysian, we are known for how good we adapt to different accents of different countries like American, British, Aussie, English. Yeah, we can even do like the Chinese accents. I'm not gonna demonstrate. But like, lucky for me, right, I was a speech representative in high school. So speaking proper Chinese is sort of what I do and what I'm trained to do at least. So in a way, I got a head start because I still have Malaysian friends here that still has that really strong Malaysian Chinese accent. Well, I still do when I pronounce certain words or like vowels or consonants. Yeah, it still happens. Just that it might take some time to actually find out like, oh, okay, I'm not local. If you think that simplified Chinese is hard, wait till you see traditional Chinese. Growing up, right, I somehow learned how to read traditional Chinese because like sometimes it appears on newspapers, certain designs, you can still see it in certain places. But the challenge is writing. I actually took some time to sort of learn how to write, but in college, right, you don't really write, like use a pen to write that much because you usually type on your laptop, your phone and all that. So writing traditional Chinese isn't too much of an issue because the lecturers do understand that we Malaysians, we don't write traditional Chinese, so they accept simplified Chinese because they actually can read simplified Chinese because most of the resources are in simplified Chinese. So they kind of have to learn both. As you know, I've been doing my YouTube channel. So when it comes to video editing and design, right? Looking for Chinese fonts is hard. Looking for traditional Chinese fonts is... The majority of Chinese fonts are in simplified Chinese, not traditional Chinese. And even if you find like, oh, traditional Chinese fonts, there might be missing words too. So when I edit my videos, right, there are a lot of times where I'm like, oh, okay, this font is nice. I'm like halfway through, then I'm like, shoot, there's a missing word. Then I sort of have to like look for another font that has all the words that make sense. Next, you know, right, as a Malaysian, you don't always know the name to things. At least for me, I guess. When you don't know what's that thing called in Chinese, you can say it in English. If you don't know what's it called in English, you can say it in Malay. There's always a word for it. Sometimes if you don't know, you can just make the sound that... I'm not gonna get in this! Okay, I can do that. Anyways, but not here in Taiwan. Chinese is literally the only language you can use to say something. I only knew what a lot of things are called after being in Taiwan. Like, for example, 菜瓜布, like the sponge that you use to clean your plates and dishes. And there are things like 生理食盐水. I don't even know what you call it in English. Let me show you. This thing, the water that you use to wash your contact lenses. Or is it just me that don't know name to things? And then there's like 充电器 for charger. In Malaysia, we just call it charger. And then there are like things like 七楼玄关. And the list goes on. I finally know the name to things. Wow, isn't it great? So like in my first year, right, I actually spent a lot of time saying this phrase. How do I say that in Chinese? Ordering food can be very, very stressful sometimes. Like the name of the dish can be really pretentious and long, like why? Okay, but this only applies if you go to like restaurant. If it's like local hawkers, like then no. For example, carbonara. It can't just be carbonara. It has to be like signature, creamy, buttery with smoked bacon and sliced chicken carbonara. English is still okay, but in Chinese, right? Okay, for example, I actually found a few on the internet. It's called 吃了变完美泡芙. Like the cream puff that makes you a influencer. I just don't feel like saying that. I actually learned the trick. Like sometimes when the name's like really, really long, usually, right, the fun part is like the not really important things, whereas only like the last like 4 or 3 words is what you want. So usually I'm just gonna be like, I want the carbonara instead of like saying the signature creamy buttery whatever thing. I want like carbonara. Even though I can read Chinese, right, but I'm not really good at reading like a whole string of words at one go. 好想度假凤梨玫瑰柠檬绿茶. I can't really say like a really long phrase at one go. Yeah, I have trouble with that. After being in Taiwan for so long, right, I understand why simplified Chinese is called simplified Chinese. Not only is it simplified, it's actually unified. Let me give you guys examples for you guys that don't really understand Chinese. This word is called fu. But in traditional Chinese, there are 3 ways of writing it, and they're used in different scenarios. For example, repeat, called 重复. It's written this way. And 复古, which means sort of retro vintage, it's written this way. 反复, also like a repetition, is written this way. But in simplified Chinese, there's only one way of writing it, which is this way. So thank God for simplified Chinese that makes the world a better place. Earthquakes. If you're a Taiwanese, right, earthquake is like part of your life. It happens when it happens. Fun fact, when Sabah has its first earthquake, I wasn't in Sabah to experience the whole thing. I was in KL back then. It's alright, I felt my first earthquake. Oh, I remember, I felt my first earthquake at Banqiao train station. There was something called 新北夜诞城. It's like a Christmas festival sort of thing that happens every year during Christmas. Below it is the train station. Well, according to what I think it is. When it was shaking, right, I was like, oh, maybe it's the train that is like passing through, so it's like shaky. My friend is like, wait, no, this is an earthquake because it's pretty shaky. The fun thing about earthquakes in Taiwan, right, after an earthquake happens, go on social media and you realize like every Taiwanese will be posting like, oh, if there's an earthquake, there's an earthquake, there's an earthquake. It's like we have that thing that bonds us together, like we felt that earthquake. There are times, right, where you wonder like, is it an earthquake or is it me myself shaking? Sometimes, right, when you sleep, like in certain angles, right, when your heart beats, right, your whole body sort of like moves together. And I'm like, wait, is it an earthquake? Next is seasons. It's like a whole new experience compared to Malaysia. The summer here is quite different than in Malaysia because the summer here, right, it makes you sticky. Like, it feels uncomfortable. Like, when I went back in Malaysia, even if it's hot, right, I don't really feel like, oh, it's so hot and sticky. I just want to turn on the aircon. As for winter, like, I live in Taipei, which is slightly up north, so it's colder. But lucky for me, I could actually tolerate the chillness better than I thought. Because as a Malaysian, right, we are not really used to that sort of temperature, but yeah, I'm actually okay, so that's good news. The fun thing about seasons, right, is that you can actually get discounts when you buy winter outfits in summer and summer outfits in winter. Okay, I think that's about it, like all the things I want to share at this point, but I'm pretty sure there are more stuff that I want to share, but I think that's for this time. Maybe there'll be like part 2, we'll never know. Feel free to share with me some of the things that you guys find interesting when studying overseas, or even like traveling and trying to adapt to the culture there. So that's it for now, and thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye bye.